Welcome to Week 5 of the Bill Neese's Coaches Show. I'm your host, Chip Hare. With us is, of course, Coach Bill Neese. Coach, going into Week 4, coming off of two big heavyweights, two state-ranked teams on the road. I can't say how important that game was. Going to West Carrollton and win 35-0 against a team that really did come out really swinging pretty hard, and we really we knew they were going to. And their cadence alignment, they came out some good.
Yeah, a lot of things were different. They came out, they run an academy offense, they run a 50 defense with a kind of a forced shell over it. We hadn't seen anything like that this year. So we thought we had a pretty good plan against it. You never are absolutely sure until you see the speed of how these formations are going to detach and things along those lines. So I thought our players adapted well. I know they got the ball first and went down the field and had some pretty good success with their fullback. But also, the bad thing for them was the fullback went both ways. And we told our guys, if you can survive that first quarter, wear down a little bit. And they weren't able to get the ball outside very much, so it turned into more of an internal game. I think that helped us out.
Well, the other thing I thought you talked about was our patience. We were patient with it. We took what they gave us, and then offensively, again, we took what the defense gave us, and we had some big plays there in the second quarter in particular.
Yeah, the passing game got unwound pretty good, and our ground game, we got a couple of our sweeps going, we got a couple of our running backs getting outside and making some big plays. So I think that was important. Probably the biggest thing for us defensively is I reminded our coaches. I said, even if I call a blitz, just please do not do it. And I told our players too. I said, just ignore me, because there was a point where I wanted to start blitzing and shut it down, but we were able to get a turnover, and that kind of calmed everything down a little bit.
I think for watching and just seeing the guys' body language as the game evolved, you could just see their confidence growing and like, hey, you know what, we are a good football team.
Yeah, this game's all about confidence. It's all about everybody practices real hard. Everybody's got great confidence going into the first game of the season, and then all of a sudden 500 people, or not 500, probably about 350 teams lose their confidence after the first week. And you can't do that. You have to be able to say to yourself, okay, we lost the game. Here's the reasons why. We're still good. We still got great chemistry. We're still very good with our conditioning, and we've got to get back and do it the next week. And it's so important, the big cliche is you just take it 1 week at a time. And until you coach, people tell me that sometimes. They say, oh, that's just a cliche. And I said, well, you've never coached. Because when you coach, you realize it is, because that's how you live your life.
1 week at a time. It was the theme last year as we were in the same position. We talked about that last week. 2-2, we start to feel good about ourselves. We're back to Week 5 and a very important game. And Xenia, and I'll go on the record and say they might be the best 0-4 team in the state of Ohio. You cannot look at records, because they gave Sydney a fight, and they've played a good schedule, and they've been giving some other people fights.
Oh yeah, if you look through their schedule, I reminded our players, the first thing we had up on a board was Xenia's record, and then the next slide was who Xenia's record was against. And when you look at it, they've played two undefeated teams. They've played Division I Beaver Creek, who's 4-0 going into a big game against Fairmont this week. And it's our ex-football player, Nick Black, having a great year down there. So they played Beaver Creek. They've played Dayton Alder, which has only lost one game. They played undefeated Sydney, which is going through probably one of the best seasons they've ever had, and so forth and so on. So, they've had an outstanding schedule against them. So, they're obviously on our radar, and we have great respect for what they do. We have great respect for what their coach did. Trey Smitherman, when he was at Stebbins, did a great job turning that thing around, and now he's at Xenia and working the same type of magic.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. What we're going to see. Obviously, they got a new coach. You talked about that. They run a triple option, as we understand. What are some of the things that we can expect to see Friday night here at Alexander Stadium?
Well, it's going to be an exact carbon copy of West Carrollton, actually. I mean, it's the same offense, same defense as West Carrollton. They use a tight end a little bit more, but overall, it's the same thing. Just like I told our players, I said you're going to expect the same type of thing, but it's going to be coming at you probably 3 times as fast. That's the big thing, and they've evolved. They've had a new quarterback come in. They had some struggles. They threw a little bit. in their game against Troy, because they were featured on the Thursday night game against Troy, which is another great team they played. So that, you add that to their schedule, and now they've been kind of solidified with their quarterback. The big thing against Sydney is they just had a numerous amount of explosion plays, just big plays. So if we can keep them in front of us and keep them in the yard with our defense. Offensively, I think, our passing game is evolving, and I think our outside run game is evolving and stuff. So I think we're getting probably moving to a little bit more of a spread offense and a little bit less of the two-back tight end type stuff.
You talked about our offense, and it was nice to see, particularly in that first half, we had some really big plays on the ground, but also we would come back and combat that with some nice plays in the air. Got some nice balls from obviously Austin, but he's found not just one receiver, he's some multiple receivers.
He spreads it around, and he's him and his cousin Shrub, they got some stuff worked out, with themselves. But they don't forget about Oil and Shrub, and Mextroth is just that guy that's gritty.
Nice plays.
He reminds me of one of them New England Patriot receivers that just breaks tackles, and he's just tough. He's on all the special teams, and he's even a backup on defense and everything. So he's a tough competitor, and you still got another senior, Sammy Herndon, in there that's also a special teams guy. Comes in as a fourth receiver. Gets in there and blocks well and makes some catches. So we think we got 4 quality receivers out there.
Well, the one thing that is very evident after last game against West Carrollton, we got confidence. We saw multiple guys getting involved, and our line made some strides as well. We're getting better. It would be remiss if we didn't talk about Ben Bynum. Unfortunately, Ben got hurt in warm-ups. We knew he had a metatarsal with his foot was an issue. Having someone like that and as a leader really certainly hurts. But the guys really picked him up on Friday. Yeah,
they did, and I'll tell you what, that was he got hurt and he had cracked the bone earlier and had been in a boot for 4 or 5 weeks. They thought it was healing pretty well, and he had been playing. He's been a 3-year starter for us, 3-year all-league player, and you have a guy like that hurt his foot during warm-ups. You're not sure how that's going to affect the team, and I thought they went ahead and blew through it. I think the lesson we learned a little bit was from 2 years ago with Darian and Derek when that happened, that man, yes, it's down, it's sad, but you got to move forward. You got to get that guy in there that's going to play, and you got to go.
Well, what I liked about him was he wasn't looking for any attention, and he was moving forward, and he was certainly encouraging his team.
Yeah, he got on crutches, left the shoe on, said, "We'll take care of this stuff later. We got West Carrollton to defeat," and that's the kind of kid he is.
Speaking of seniors, tonight our senior features and our senior highlights will be Devon Brown and James Coughlin. Talk a little bit about those two and what they have brought to our program, particularly this season.
Well, Jimmy's been a starter for us for a pretty long time. He's been a special teams player. He's an undersized linebacker, but he's an over-quick linebacker. So when people are reminded he's not very big, but I say that he is very much quicker than anybody else is playing back there. And he really is a tough guy to block. He's a great tackler, and he's perfect for us. He's a perfect combination with Ben, who's the bigger hammer, and then Jimmy's that guy coming off the side and doing a great job in coverages. So we can't be more happy with what he's doing for us. And then Devon Brown, who's been a transfer for us, and he played as a sophomore, didn't play last year, came in this year, and he just totally committed himself. He said, "I'm going to get this done." He's done everything that everybody's asked, and right now he's probably being one of the feature guys in our league right now, getting a lot of publicity out there as to, hey, who's this guy? Where's he been? He plays defense for us. He's also on special teams, so he's very unselfish. And just overall right now, 5 games into the season, enjoying probably the best season he's had.
One of the things that you talk about Devon, that I've seen in growth in him in the last, from week 1 to now we go into week 5. If you asked him a couple weeks ago, he was talking about more on the things that he was doing well. Now he's talking about things that he's got to improve on and focus in on.
Yeah, and it's a lot more
maturity.
Yeah, and it's a lot more we and a lot less I, and I think that's what everybody who's been with us for 3-4 years has that. He didn't have that that 3 or 4 years,
Right.
with us. But he's catching quick, and he understands that he needs to adapt to what we're doing, and we can put him in the best spot to be an excellent football player.
Back to the keys of the game for Friday before we wrap this thing up and move into the second half of the show. Keys of the game to win against Xenia.
I think defensively we have to eliminate the big play or slow down as many of the big plays as possible, because again it was just bang, bang, bang. Their fullback had almost 300 yards rushing just coming through on that dive. They had a couple pitches. So I think if we can do that, we can give ourselves a chance to win. I think number 2, we've got to be able to move the football and score points. I mean, this is not going to be a game where 21 points is going to get it. We may have to put some more points on the board. And I think thirdly, and one of the underrated things, is they've got some return guys that were outstanding last year that were on the sidelines of 2 of the films we've watched. So if those guys are dressed and in the game, they can make a difference, and we got to make sure we get that covered.
Well, I know for the Indian fans, it'll be glad to have us back at home here at Alexander Stadium with a 7 o'clock kickoff against Xenia. We will be back for the second half of the Bill and Lisa's Coaches Show, when we'll get to talk to James and we'll get to talk about Devon and about what they see this upcoming season being. Stay with us. Welcome to the second half of the Bill and Lisa's Coaches Show, the senior spotlight piece. With us right now are 2 seniors, Devon Brown and James Coglan. And gentlemen, why don't you talk a little bit about your position and a little bit about your background and how long you've been part of pickle football.
Well, I'm a middle linebacker, and I didn't get a start until middle of the season last year because of an injury, and I'm just happy to be able to lead my team.
Devon?
I'm a running back and I'm a corner, and I played football 2 years ago, and I couldn't be able to play last year, but this year I'm looking to work my hardest, and I can't wait.
Well, welcome back to and 2 guys. So, really, your first full years back into the program, but as seniors, a little different than some of those that have been in. But you guys have jumped right in and really have had quite a bit of success so far. James, just a little bit from you. Talk a little bit about the season so far and how you see it. Obviously, a big win at West Carrollton on Friday, 2-2. How do you see the season so far?
I think it's going great. We had a few setbacks with the 2 losses, the 2 very tough teams. But where we're at right now, I think it's a good place to regroup and get on track again. And that's to make it to the playoffs.
What's some of the, you just talked about playoffs. What's some of the goals at this point in time of the year? You know, we're 2-2. Obviously, we've got another crossover game on Friday with Xenia. Then we get into the GWAC North schedule. What are some of the goals that you have and maybe the team has as we get into almost the halfway part of the season?
Just come out at practice and play like you would in a game. Just do everything, get the young guys to step up, and just do everything you can to win.
Devon, you've had a nice year so far for the Indians as you go into week 5. How's the season been for you in terms of how you've seen the season?
I feel like, I've gotten better in what I did from the start of it, and they give me opportunities that I owe to the people. So I think I'm doing good, and I'm going to do better.
So goals-wise this year, what are some of the things that you're looking for goals-wise?
To be the best player I can, to my teammates, and work harder on the field. And yeah, that's just about it.
Well, I have to ask you, because this is a question that comes up often, is, Devon, you've had quite a few touchdowns, a couple in scrimmage, a couple in a couple games, and they've been called back. From a player's and psychological perspective, I'm sure that's difficult to look back and to see some yellow laundry on the field. How do you respond to that?
Well, honestly, it's just the next play, just do the same thing. Just run harder, that was the play before, and it happens. You can't do nothing about it, so just work harder.
I think you got the right disposition on that. I think from watching it, I think people appreciate your effort and appreciate all the effort that you've given the Indians so far. I know we're looking for continued great things from you. James, as we get into the season, what are some of the big games that you look at as you say as a senior, hey, those are those are some ones that I've kind of personally marked up in my mind that are ones that I'm looking forward to participating in or being a part of.
These next two definitely, because they're two teams that they work really hard, and they are going to come out and
They'll come right at you, and you know you're going to get a big game from them.
Yeah, definitely.
And particularly, you know, we take one game at a time. Xenia, they're coming in 0-4. They're a pretty good team at 0-4.
Yes, definitely.
Very athletic.
You can't underestimate them at all. They play some good teams.
Devon, as you get into the schedule, you've played some pretty good teams thus far. 2-2. Has it been the kind of year you thought you had hoped on an individual basis?
Yeah, it's going along. You know, I'm hoping for more.
What are some things that we got to get better at?
Just me focusing on some plays, not falling asleep. You know, covering more better.
And we made great strides there. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about past this year. Let's talk about where are we going to be after we graduate from high school. What are some things you would like to do a year from now?
I'm planning to attend a 4-year college. I'm not sure on the major yet, but I was thinking about physical therapy if I could get to the athletics side of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good. What schools are you looking at this point?
Wright State, OU, just local schools.
Good. Devon, what about yourself? What are you looking at college-wise?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to get a degree. You know, stay 4 years if I can. And you know, I was thinking about criminal justice as a major, but I don't know yet. I gotta see what comes my way.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, one thing that is for certain, we certainly wish you luck in that. One last question before we leave. With Xenia coming up on Friday, it's an opportunity to honor one of our coaches, Coach Neese. It'll be Coach Neese night. From your perspective, what's it been like to play for Coach Neese?
Oh, it's great. He always brings out the best in all of his players. He always has us working hard, always on top of things. They can always count on him. Good.
Devon, how's it been for you? Just 1 year playing for him.
Coach Dees, he did a lot for me. You know, due to before, it's just it gave me a chance to make it what I can do, and I really appreciate it. He's a good guy. He's a great guy, actually.
Well, Friday night will be Bill Neese night. 25 years as our head coach here at Piqua. It's unusual to see it anywhere. So you can see the impact that it's had on these young men and the many, many young men that he has impacted. I will tell you that there will be a special presentation. It'll be before the game. So we encourage people to come out and watch that and be a part of it. Remember, kickoff for the GWalk game against Xenia will be Friday night here at Alexander Stadium. Kickoff will be at 7 o'clock. For Devon and for James, I'm Chip. We thank you for joining the Bill Neese Coaches Show. Have a good night, everyone.